All right, I'm going to film a little history video in Manchester, New Hampshire. This is Elm Street, which is, this heads towards downtown. It's actually the only downtown street in America that, as far as I know, it has a dead end on one end and a dead end on the other. I don't know if there's any other towns. I know Boston likes to make fun of us because of that. But anyhow, this is General John Stark's house. He was a Revolutionary War hero. Let's see, he lived from 1736 to 1765. Oh, that's when he lived here. Okay, I was gonna say. All right, now let me look at this sign right here. I can't zoom in with my GoPro. This is the Molly Stark chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution right now. This building, this is their headquarters. Actually, I have a meeting here tomorrow. I'm going to meet with the head of the Sons of the American Revolution, the chapter leader for New Hampshire, and bring him my lineage and see if he can confirm, well, this is what I'm going to be riding. We're going to go from here, I'm taking the bike, and we're going to go to Stark Park right up the road, and I'm going to show you his statue, and then we're going to talk about this cherry tree. Let me just read this sign real quick. Revolutionary War Patriots. This marker commemorates the men and women who achieved American independence. Though these patriots believing in the noble cause of liberty, fought valiantly to found the new nation. Presented by the Molly Stark chapter of New Hampshire Daughters of the American Revolution in honor of the 250th anniversary of the United States. Wow, that's a brand new sign. All right, so let's jump on the bike right now and head straight to the park. I'm gonna see if I can do this whole lesson, this whole session here in one video. Ah, that is cool. John Stark, Revolutionary War hero. In the spring of 1777, the outcome of the American Revolution was very much in question. A large British army in Canada began to move south along the New York side of Lake Champlain as part of a plan to cut off New England from the rest of the colonies. In early July, Fort Ticonderoga, see my video about that, in New York was recaptured, and nearby Mount Independence in Vermont was evacuated by the Americans. The British were now in need of supplies and stores located in the General Depot at Bennington, Vermont. That state had only recently declared its independence and now asked for assistance from New Hampshire against the invading army. With General Stark, where I lost my place. With General Stark in command, 1,400 men enlisted for 30 days and departed for Bennington from Charleston, New Hampshire. Upon their arrival, General Stark was given command of all militia and made plans for battle with the advancing British. On the afternoon of August 16th, the battle began, and by nightfall, the British were in full retreat without the supplies they so badly needed. This victory by General Stark would prove to be critical. As the British regrouped near Saratoga, New York, many of the New Hampshire men were sick and their 30 days of enlistment had expired. Nearly half of them left for home. On September 19th, the day after General Stark left for home to recruit more troops, the British attempted to resume their march south. They were not able to breach the American lines. After several days, both forces settled in to strengthen their position. On October 7th, the British again attacked and after heavy casualties withdrew behind newly built barricades. The only hope was to return to Canada. It was at this point that General Stark returned with his new brigade and closed off the last escape route. On October 16th, the British army of 800 men surrendered. 8,000 surrendered. The brilliant victory of General Stark at Bennington had set the stage for success at Saratoga, and he had returned in time for the surrender that was the turning point in the Revolution. Actually, there's another notable thing I should mention about that battle is when he got to Vermont, they had told him he was going to be under the command of the Continental Army, and he says, no, I'm not taking any commands from any of these generals who got their position by graft. You know, he goes, he's a military tactician, so he went there and he assessed the situation, and he's the one that because of his brilliance was able to lead the militia to victory. Tonight, this is a famous quote from him, "Tonight our flag floats over yonder here, or Molly Stark sleeps a widow." Basically, live free or die. That's a huge statue, man. Live free or die. Death is not the worst of evils. All right, I want to show you one more thing before we go over here and we talk about that cherry tree. That cherry tree that's a great story behind that tree. All right, I'm going to get on the bike. I'm not going to be able to talk because this point of view GoPro is going to be in my mouth. How about that? General Stark is buried right here. Stark gravesite. The American Revolutionary War hero, Major General John Stark, was born in Londonderry, New Hampshire in 1728. Upon his death in 1882, this gravesite on what was the site of the Stark family farm became his final resting place. The general's beloved wife Molly, who predeceased him in 1814, and other members of the Stark family were later laid to rest alongside the general. The hand-forged wrought iron fence was added to the site in 1918. Cool. I didn't realize that this was his farmland. All right, now we're going to ride up to this cherry tree. That's another great story. It's a bumpy ride. Okay, this cherry tree is pretty famous. It was given to America by the Japanese as a thank you for negotiating a peace treaty between Russia and Japan. I think it's called the Russo-Japanese War, 1895, somewhere around there. And then they had the 100-year, the treaty was negotiated in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And actually, Japan got screwed in that treaty because Russia was the aggressor. They had that eastward manifest destiny, so to say. That started with Ivan the Terrible, and so they were trying to go see who can control the Korean Peninsula. I forget what it was called back then, Manchuria, something like that. So anyhow, I mean, Russia literally took them 7 months for their ships to get over there to fight the war with Japan, and Japan just quickly just sank all their ships. And then I don't know how bad the Russian defeat was on the land, but I think it was more than 2-1, maybe 3-1 Russians died. I mean, they just got their butts kicked, and it changed the entire perception of Asians versus Europeans on who was superior in battle. And the Japanese got a lot of respect after that. So I came here looking for this tree because I read about it, and I didn't know where in this park it was. You see, there's a little mount right there with something like a marker identifying that tree. There's a marker over here identifying these trees. I don't know if you can see them, but this one didn't have one, so I walked right by it. And later on I came back, I said, I know it's buried here. If I was going to plant the cherry tree, where would I put it? And I said, I would put it right here. And lo and behold, there's a plaque on the ground. We just missed the blossom. There's still a few. Yeah, a few. Let's see. This cherry tree, a living memorial to the Portsmouth Peace Treaty, liberating New Hampshire. Wait, what does that say? Oh, celebrating New Hampshire citizen diplomacy. Presented by the Japanese American Society of New Hampshire. Hey, that's awesome, man. Yep, so they got a lot of these trees were planted in Portsmouth. And then I had read somewhere that they ended up planting some more around town, and one of them was Manchester. And I knew right away it was this park because, you know, this park has just got some unbelievable trees. Like right here you have a European beech, and this describes the whole tree, how big the root can get. It's just amazing trees. Nice little pavilion. They have music out here. But anyhow, that's Stark Park. And let's go look at those cannons real quick, because I'm pretty sure those were seized. They may have come from Ticonderoga. Oh wait, no. General Knox took those cannons down to Boston to end the siege of Boston. Let's go see what it says over there. Flowers, not war. Love it. Somebody's got the right message. Yeah, I don't know, man. These are the real deal. I just don't know where they came from. That's Americana right there. That's a great piece of history right there. Can you imagine one of these coming your way? Holy cow. Oy, oy, oy. Anyhow, hope you enjoyed it. It's just kind of a little impromptu history lesson off the top of my head. And I am curious about this stump over here. I mean, they got a marker for this tree. It looks like an old beech tree. A birch, yeah. Those bend when it gets wet and heavy. Yeah, a birch, white birch. Yeah, that poor guy. Yeah, they're notorious for, especially like if you have an ice storm, forget it. Okay, hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Peace out. That's me, dressed up as a school mascot at my daughter's school during COVID. Zion the Lion, driving all over Manchester looking for the kids, and John Stark is pointing in the right direction. I'll tell you another quick story about General Stark. He was at a couple other notorious battles, Trenton, but the one that gets me is Bunker Hill, Boston. Boston doesn't get enough credit for, New Hampshire doesn't get enough credit for what we did to, for the Revolutionary War. From seizing the munitions depot in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and to the heroic battles that we fought on Bunker Hill. Definitely Bennington, but John Stark got down there with his militia, and they told him where he should set up, and he said, nah. He, like I said before, he was a tactician, and he put himself in, he looked at the point of view from the British. He says, how are they going to attack this hill? And he says, they're probably going to come across the Mystic River, and they're going to come up along this flank. That's his guess. And they did. And that's the battle where they said, don't shoot until you see the whites of their eyes. So he had his men lay low and just wait and wait, and the British came exactly where he had positioned himself. And they got closer and closer and closer. Bam! They jumped up. 90 British men fell just like that. And they advanced again. They were rebuffed and they retreated. And that was the New Hampshire militia, and that was under General John Stark. Who was it? Prescott? It was Colonel Prescott who said, don't shoot till they see the whites of their eyes. I wonder if that's what Prescott Park in Portsmouth is named after. I'm not sure. I'm winging it. Anyhow, peace.